Hi there, it's Jen from modernmedicinelady.com and the Empathic Woman System. And the word of the day is inheritance. And I choose this word because today is Halloween, which is also known as Samhain, the Celtic New Year. And it is believed that this is the time when the veil between the worlds of the living and the dead becomes the most thin. And we have the ability to reach across time to our ancestors, to offer them support, to offer them forgiveness, to offer them energy and healing, and also to ask them for guidance, for wisdom, for healing, for help. And so it had me thinking a lot about inheritance and how we inherit not only money and resources and jewelry and heirlooms, but we also inherit beliefs and ideas and emotions and health issues and all kinds of other stuff, some of which works and some of which doesn't really work. And that as we grow and as we move forward, there are things that we've inherited that are no longer serving us. So I was working with a client the other day, and we were working on some issues around money and need. And we were working on what was going on in terms of a belief that basically, in order to be loved, she needed to have a need. And in order for the people in her family to connect with her and to relate to her, she had to have something they could do for her. And so the idea was, and what she realized was that this went back generations in her family, where the equation for love was, in order to be loved, you either had to need to be taken care of, or you had to be needed because you could provide the care. But that the only ways that love was expressed was either through caregiving or care receiving, and it was all tied into need. So the thing is, there's something deeply noble at the core of this, which is the desire to express love and the desire to connect. But the problem is that somewhere along the line in that ancestral pattern, there became this idea that need was directly equated to love, and that in order for love to exist, there had to be need. And the thing is that certainly for many generations, that pattern may have been working. But when somebody is making the decision that they want to thrive, that they want to step beyond the limitations of their family and of what other people had been able to do, the idea that they need to be needy in order to be loved no longer serves them. And so we were looking at what the core of this was, which is the desire to express and feel love, and then look at what the sort of misconception was, which was that the only way it could happen was through need. And then as we worked with this, we started to go backwards towards the ancestors and offer the possibility that this could be transformed into the expression of love. And so I was thinking about how there's a way that we tend to look at inheritance as, oh, we would be betraying something if we gave it away, or we didn't accept it, or we didn't cherish it. But I was thinking about computers, and I was thinking that if somebody inherited a computer from the early 1970s that was like a massive, the kind of computer that would take up an entire floor in a city building in New York City, and would have an entire staff just to program the information and stuff, it would have been worth more money than we can even begin to imagine. Like, it would have been so valuable. And you think about that, and then you think about this phone that I'm recording this video on, and how that time people wouldn't have even been able to conceive of the computing technology and the abilities of this phone. And if somebody passed on that computer from the 1960s and said, this is really valuable because we spent a lot of money on it, therefore you need to be loyal to it because so much money went into it, that's actually what people would call now sunk cost, We sunk a lot of cost into it, therefore you need to be loyal to it. But the thing is that at this point in time, there is something that is so much more efficient, that is so much more valuable, and that is so much actually less expensive that it's really not worth holding on to that old albatross simply because it was something that somebody passed on and say you inherited it. And I don't think anybody is going to begrudge somebody for basically tossing or recycling an obsolete computer. But there's a funny way that we tend to look at or have this loyalty issue about holding on to our genetic and emotional and behavioral inheritances. So I offer the possibility that in the same way that some things that technology becomes obsolete, I think that emotional patterns and beliefs also can become obsolete. And part of our job right now, as we move into this entirely new time where growth and opportunity are really becoming more and more possible, we can reconsider the inheritance, and we don't have to keep all of it. We can take what we like and leave the rest. So my question to you right now is, what kinds of inheritances are you being affected by that are no longer serving you? What are you holding on to simply for loyalty that is outdated and that could be reworked or reimagined to serve you in a better way? In the same way that my client is looking at the realization of love is the bottom line in that need or in that desire, and that it's possible to just focus on the unconditional love and not on that equation of need equals love. What kinds of alternatives are there for you around the root of what each inheritance was ultimately about? And how could you do things differently?